Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to join these 9 motifs in the final round all together in one go. So you start here, you go all the way round, so don't worry if you're not following this because I'm going to break it down much more slowly, and then you come back and you finish at the starting point. So you've only got 2 ends to weave in rather than 9 times 2, 18 ends. It saves time and it actually also looks really nice and neat. This is what I call the Japanese continuous granny stitch join. I first learned about this continuous join about probably more than 7 years ago in a book that I bought from Japan, which covered all kinds of different continuous ways of crocheting, including continuous motifs and continuous joining rounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with my 9 motifs. I'm going to join. Of course you can join any number of motifs you like. There's lots of different kind of rectangles, and you know, you can have different number of rows, different number of columns. So although I'm doing this as a square with 9 motifs, this is very adaptable. Once you get the hang of it, you should easily be able to adapt it to different shapes. So these are my 9 motifs I'm going to join. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where I'm joining and where I'm crocheting and tell you what to do. And while I'm crocheting, I'll pick up the work and crochet with it facing me in the appropriate direction for the crochet. And then when I've finished the certain section, I'll be laying the piece I've just done down so that you can see how that relates to the rest of the pieces that we're joining together. So I'm using here an organic cotton 4-ply rainbow, and this is from Hobby Yarns, and I've got a 3mm hook. But of course this can apply to any thickness of yarn and hook size. If you're making a granny square, you would literally just carry on using the same hook and the same yarn, thickness of yarn that you were using before. Anyway, I'm going to start in the middle of this first motif. So I'm going to call this motif A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. This is motif A. I'm going to start on the left hand side in the middle space between the crochet stitches. So the stitch is exactly the same as just doing another round of granny. So you're just doing 3 double crochets in between the spaces. This first cluster, however, is slightly different because I'm going to actually start in the middle of the cluster because I find it much neater ending after I've done the 3rd cluster on the way round. So don't worry if you don't understand what I'm saying, it will become evident as you do the work. So I'm going to join the yarn at the back. You can join however you like. As you know, I like to hold a tail at the back, pull up a loop. I'm going to chain 3 to represent 1 double crochet. I'm going to do another double crochet in that same space, and I'm catching in the tail end. So I'm only going to do 2 here because, as I said a minute ago, when I finish joining all of these together, the last stitch will be going in there, and it's actually a much neater finish. And then you're just going to be following the exact same pattern of 3 stitches between every cluster and 3 stitches, chain 2, 3 stitches in the corner. And actually, if I just place that down again, I'm going to be carrying on with this round on this motif I'm going to carry on along the bottom, and then I'm going to carry on along the third side. So if we count this as the first side where we've started halfway along, I'm going to go all the way along the second side and all the way along the third side up until the point where I get to the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll meet you when I get, just before I get to the third corner of this first motif, motif A. Just about to do the third corner, so I'll just show you how that looks in relation to the other pieces. And I'm going to do this third corner, but I'm only going to do 3 double crochets and the chain 2, and that's for the minute where I'm stopping on this motif for the border. So it should look like this. You've got half a side and then 2 full sides, and then in one corner you've only done 3 double crochets and a chain 2. Now it's time to start this motif, and we're going to join in this corner. We're going to work this side, and as we work this side we're going to join it to this side with drop stitch, with a drop loop join. Then we're going to carry along, do this side independently and do this side, and again do a partial corner here. So I'm just going to let that piece hang down. I want to do a 3 double crochets into the corner of this next motif, a corner that's adjacent to the corner I've just completed. And now I need to do my drop loop join. So here I'm just going to have the work fall as I'm crocheting. You know, it's difficult to crochet whilst trying to keep everything exactly as per the original plan, and you wouldn't really be doing that anyway. I'm just doing this for the sake of the video. So a drop loop join, remember you take the loop off the hook, elongate it slightly first to stop you losing complete control, and make sure this piece is facing the right way. The in between the 2 clusters where you want to join on the adjacent piece, you go between the clusters, put the loop back on the hook, pull the loop back to the correct tension and pull it through that space. So you're not actually making any slip stitches or any joins at all. This is a drop loop join. And then we go straight into putting the next set of 3 double crochets between the 3 double crochets of this round, 1, 2, 3, 4th round of this motif. And again, drop loop join, putting the hook between the next set of clusters on the joining piece, pull the loop through, 3 double crochet between the next set of clusters, drop loop join, inserting hook between the next set of clusters on the adjacent piece. And this is why it's quite important to have a really good free flow of yarn, because if you've got this yarn snagging, you can inadvertently tighten some of your stitches and pucker your work. So it's quite important to have nice free flow of stitches. Another drop loop join, now we're coming to the corner, and remember with this well, I don't remember because I haven't told you yet, but with this particular kind of join, along the sides of the motifs where we're joining to with granny stitch border join, we do drop loop joins for between the clusters and then slip stitch joins for the corner, because in the corners you're always working into the first slip stitch you ever made. the first slip stitch join you made, because it makes a super neat central point of joining. Okay, so we've come to this corner of this motif that we're joining on. We've done 3 double crochet, we're going to chain 1, then we're going to do a slip stitch join. So for the slip stitch join, we are not taking the loop off the hook, we're going into the corner, pulling up a loop, so we've created a slip stitch, then we're going to chain 1, then we're going to finish off this corner with 3 double crochet. And remembering at every opportunity, if you come to a tail end, crochet over it, because it helps reduce some sewing time. So let's just put this take this back up the right way in relation to the rest of our motifs, and you should be able to see how we've joined along this side. We've joined along here with drop loop joins, which all look nice and neat, and in the corner we've done a slip stitch join, and we've finished off this corner. Now we're ready to travel along in pattern along the bottom and along this edge in exactly the same way as we did this first one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back for the next section of joining. So I finished the bottom edge and almost finished this side edge, and then if you remember, I'm only going to do a partial cluster in this corner, a partial corner in this corner. I'm going to do 3 double crochet, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to join in exactly the same way as I did this first one, but I'll show it to you again, just so that you get a better understanding. So remember, I've just done 3 double crochet, chain 2. Now I'm going to, in this corner here that I'm joining onto this motif, I'm going to put 3 double crochet. So I'm just going to move that yarn over, 3 double crochet into that chain 2 corner, I'm going to do a drop loop join, so I open the loop up a bit. I usually hold it just below the loop to stop it coming undone. Now I need to just double check that this piece is the right way up, for crocheting at least, not how we had it laid out, and then make sure it hasn't twisted. So sometimes you can twist the chain, which I had actually done then. I've just untwisted it for it to be completely correct, and we're going to do a drop loop join into this first space here. So remember, I've taken the loop off, I've pinched it to secure it, going into the chain 3 space between those clusters, pulling through the loop. So the trick here is you don't really want it super tight, because that means your work, the motifs won't be, there'll be a certain level of inflexibility, and also a bit of a raised, you'll have a raised ridge between the motifs if you do it too tightly. And also, again, you don't want it too loose, because you'll end up with a big gap. So there's a happy medium which you hopefully will naturally fall into once you've done a few experiments. This is definitely the kind of thing that you might need a few goes at just to get the hang of it, so I would strongly recommend trying out on a couple of sample granny squares. So here we go, I'm done this drop loop join, and I'm ready to put 3 double crochets into the motif that I'm joining. Ready for a drop loop join, take the loop off the hook, in between the clusters of the corresponding piece, pull the loop through, and 3 double crochet in the next space. Drop loop join between the next set of clusters, 3 double crochets, drop loop join. Now we're coming to the corner, and to join this corner with a slip stitch, chain 3 double crochet, chain 1, slip stitch join, chain 1, 3 double crochet. So we'll just have a quick look at that before moving on. Okay, so we're now ready to continue the border along the bottom, along the right hand edge, turn the corner, and then I'm going to show you what to do across the top, because the next route of this stitch is to go across the top of all these 3 motifs. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off these 2 sides in pattern, and I'll see you in a minute. So I'm just coming up to do a corner on this motif. And now I'm going to crochet along this edge to finish off the border on motif B and motif C. Motif A will not be completely finished off until the very last part of the border. So I'm going to crochet in pattern across the top of this motif until I get to the corner, and then I'll show you what to do. Okay, so I've come to this corner, so you can probably guess that I need to finish off this corner by putting another set of 3 double crochet in there. Then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 2 space here, where I finished the side, did a chain 2, and then started to join this motif. So I'm going into that chain 2 space. I'm going to do a slip stitch. So as you can see, that has finished off the border of that motif C. Now I'm going to go along across the top of motif B. So the first thing I need to do is chain 1, and then finish off the corner with 3 double crochet. 3 double crochet between the next 3, i.e. carrying on in pattern. 3 double crochet between, not like that though, no, that's it, no, start again, don't like that. 3 in there, come to the next corner, same as the one we've just done, not corner, but it's I suppose it is, it's the corner of this motif where it joins the other motif, so yeah, we will call it a corner. So put 3 double crochet into there, chain 1, slip stitch in that space, chain 1, and finish off the corner of motif A. So what I am now going to do is carry along this edge, and then I'll show you what to do when I get to this corner. So it follows basically the same kind of sequence that we've already done. Once you've mastered this, you'll soon realise that you can do some more complex shapes, not just squares. You could do rectangles, you can even do T shapes for sweaters and stuff. So that's what it looks like so far. I've come to this corner and I'm only going to do a partial corner. I'm going to do 3 double crochet and then a chain 2. So next I want to be joining this motif, and it follows the same principle, just in a slightly different way, because the very first row border side that we're doing, we are going to be joining it straight away. And then the other difference is when we come to this corner here, we've got to join it to a point where there's already another motif joined, but it's very similar to join as you go per round. So we've done our, in this corner, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and we're working into this motif into this corner. So I'm just going to reorientate my work to make it easier for me to crochet. Yarn over into that corner, and we're going to 3 double crochet. Double check the work's not become twisted. Let's have a look, that's fine. And you're going to do drop loop join again into motif, top of motif A, and then exactly the same all the way along. 3 double crochet between the clusters, drop loop join, not too tight, not too loose. The key to keeping it loose is when you do the first stitch, is to keep really good control of tension in this yarn. Keep it nice and tight, and it stops the loop opening. Drop loop join, another drop loop join, and now we're coming to the next corner. So if I turn it up the way we've had it laid out, you can see where I've done the bottom row of this motif. Now I'm ready to join this corner to here, and then I'm going to go up there, and then followed a pretty similar sequence as the first set. Okay, corner, 3 double crochets, chain 1. We're going to find this slip stitch. So the only difference with this slip stitch and the other joins we've done, if you remember the other joins, we were actually going through the legs of the slip stitch. With this slip stitch in the continuous Japanese method, where we've done this long horizontal row of joining, we're literally going to go into the actual slip stitch properly. So treat it like a normal stitch, i.e. front loop, back loop. Make sure you're going into the slip stitch and not the chain. So it has got a couple of little legs where it's joining there. So you're going into that, treating the slip stitch like a normal stitch, joining with a slip stitch, chain 1, another 3 double crochet to finish off the corner of motif D, the second corner. Now we're going to travel up along the side of this motif just as before, 3 between each cluster. Oops. And then repeating the same thing for the corner, partial corner, 3 double crochet, chain 2. Just have a quick look where we are. Very good. Next we're going to join this one, pretty straightforward again. We've done our chain 2. We're going to need to put 3 double crochet in this corner, so let's just rearrange things to make the crocheting easier. 3 double crochet into that corner, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, no chain 1, drop loop join, remove the hook, loop from the hook, insert the hook between the clusters, pull up a loop, 3 double crochet in the next set. So this part you should be now pretty familiar with, so I'll try not to keep repeating myself. Last drop loop join before the corner, partial corner, I 3 double crochet, chain 1, and now again you're going to go back through that slip stitch, the very first slip stitch, which now should be easy to see because you've already worked into it. So you're going into there, you're doing a slip stitch, chain 1, and this time again we're going to be joining with slip drop loop joins whilst we make the bottom part of motif E, the way it looks like at the top at the minute because of the way we've got the yarn, but we're doing that part of motif E. Use exactly the same 3 double crochet to finish off the corner, and drop loop joins for the rest of the side. I would recommend doing this on a table or something. It's quite, if you're not used to it and you attempt this on your lap or something while watching TV, it can start to get a bit tricky. It's difficult to see what you're doing, whereas if you've got everything laid out on a table, for a start the work's much higher up and it's not sort of hanging. The more motifs you add, obviously the heavier the work gets, and what can happen sometimes is as you're trying to form these stitches and you've got a great amount of weight hanging off, you can start to get really sloppy stitches. So keeping it on the table helps to carry some of the weight and reduce that. So I'll come to the next, ready to join at this next corner. So I've done 3 double crochet in this corner, chain 1, and I'm going to do a slip stitch join in the slip stitch from this round. So I'm not going through the legs like I have been doing, I'm going through the actual stitch just because of the way this stitch is falling, looks neater. Slip stitch join, chain 1, 3 double crochet in the corner. And this next, yeah, I've caught something there, doesn't look very good. I think I've now pulled that. Okay, that's better. 3 double crochet, and this last edge is not attached to anything yet, so we're just going to go up in pattern along that edge. And we're ready for another partial corner. 3 double crochet, chain 2. Let's just see where we're at. Okay, now I'm going to join this one, and this one is joining exactly the same way as the motif E. All the steps are exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will meet you when I've come to this 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth corner of motif F. Around the corner, catching in this tail end. Have a little look. Pretty good. Now I'm going to finish off along the top here, and that's exactly the same way that we have done this, but I will go over it again. If you don't need to watch it again, you can just skip this part of the video. Get rid of that tail. Working in pattern with our 3 double crochet clusters. Coming to the corner, finishing off the corner. We've already got 3 double crochet and a chain 2, which is actually divided between these two. So in essence we've got chain 1 for this corner and a chain 1 for this corner. So that's why we've got our 3 clusters. We only need to chain 1, and then in this chain 2 space we're going to do a slip stitch. Chain, don't make the slip stitch too tight, it needs to be neat but not tight because you've got to work into it. Chain 1, finish off this corner, 3 double crochet. Three double crochet between each cluster. Going to the next corner, finishing it off with 3 double crochet. Chain 1, slip stitch into the chain 2 space, chain 1, 3 double crochet to finish off the next corner. Carry along in pattern till we get to the last corner of this motif, and in this last corner we are doing partial corner, 3 double crochet, chain 2. Let's have a quick look where we're up to. And that's all looking pretty good really. We have managed to put the border completely on 4 of the motifs. These first 2, the first of each row is still waiting to be finished off, but at this point you can probably foresee what's going to happen. So these next 3 motifs are joined in exactly the same way as this second row that we've just done. So I'm going to go ahead and join those, and I'll meet you back when I'm just about to come up to this corner here. So I have finished this section of joining these last 3 motifs on row 3. Coming up to this corner here, I'm going to turn this corner, and then we're going to work along this edge here in exactly the same way as we did when we were working along the top of these ones. So let's turn the corner, 3 double crochet, chain 2, three double crochet, working along the side of these motifs in pattern, we get to the next corner join, and we're going to finish off this corner with 3 double crochet, chain 1, slip stitch into this chain 2 space, chain 1, 3 double crochet into the next corner. Working pattern along the edge. Finish off this next corner. Chain 1, slip stitch into the chain 2 space, chain 1, finish off the next corner. Now we're coming back to the first motif, motif A, which if you remember we started midway along the side. So 3 double crochet between the next set of clusters, and now we need to finish off this set of clusters because we only did 2. We did a chain 3 which represents a stitch and a double crochet, so we're going to put 1 more double crochet in there, and then in the third chain of the beginning chain 3, take a little look, got 1, 2, 3. Remember this often twists round. You treat the chain exactly like a normal stitch, front loop, back loop, third part of the chain at the back. I'm going to do a little slip stitch join, cut the yarn, pull through. So let's have a little look here. That is pretty good, really nice, neat joins in the corner, nice neat drop loop joins, not too tight, not too loose. And the best thing is we have only got 2 ends for this final border. If this was the final piece, or maybe you were making a blanket or something, you would probably put another round of this double crochet in this colour around the edge, because if you have a look here, you've got 2 rows between each motif, and then the edge has only got 1 row. Obviously for the sweater making, you don't need to worry about that so much, but if you were using this principle to join blanket motifs together, you might not break the yarn off there, you might just go around for another, or even a couple of rounds if you just wanted to, you know, just to make the blanket a bit bigger. Anyway, so another thing to mention is that for these motifs I actually sewed in all the ends, apart from the last round. I sewed them all in before I joined. That just helps you to control what you're doing, because sometimes when you've got loads and loads of ends hanging down, it can just complicate things and the ends can get in the way. The reason why I always leave the last row, I leave it until I've done another round, because then it means that I've actually got somewhere, this needle's a bit big, but I've got somewhere to sew it in then. And the last row of this where I've joined, I'm probably not going to sew that in until I've actually constructed finished constructing the sweater, because it just means if something goes wrong and you need to unpick it and you've sewn in all your ends, or you need to rearrange things, yeah, last rounds I never sew those in until I'm completely sure that everything I'm doing is spot on and just how I want it.